started putting some of the links. I'll put some more as Yene is gonna talk to us. So quick updates. I'm sure by now everybody have heard the news about the new variant called Eris. It's not kind of a new variant, it's just a variant of the Omicron. It's not really, it's a predominant variant at this point, taking up about 15%, which is the highest prevalent strain at the moment. It's not really clear whether that's gonna cause any problems. One issue is, of course, it's not really tracked very well, given that, you know, most people don't report positive COVID anymore, and there's no tracking system. Those all were discontinued. So we don't frankly know what's happening. The California claims that they're having a pretty major uptick in cases. There is general uptick in cases, but it's kind of smallish if you look at the comparison in terms of what we've had exactly this time a year ago, but nonetheless, there's some uptick. So one thing is to notice that this new variant Eris, which is the actual formal name is EG.5. And by the way, if you want to read a bit more, I put the link to the Politico article about that. That's pretty easy to read. So it's actually a subvariant of the older one, XBB.1.5. So theoretically, at least, the vaccines from last year should be still covering it fine, and also the updated vaccine that should start coming out sometime in the fall definitely will be covering it. So I don't have any new updates on the vaccination process. You've heard me talk about if you've had one a year ago, you should still, or close to a year ago, you should still be okay. If you have very specific individual circumstances, like your health's changed, maybe you got a bit more immune compromised, you'd probably want to talk about this to your physician. But if there's no changes, I say it's probably best to wait till the fall to see how things run, and for 12 months from the prior booster, if at all you're going to get vaccinated. So the actual my personal opinion, which is not necessarily in line with the CDC and WHO recs, is that if you're actually pretty healthy and you're not older, I'm not sure that you really have to get another booster. The main reason is actually very simple. The T cell immunity that we all have by now, that has nothing to do with vaccines, should actually have enough protection. And this is not the first time I'm saying this. If anybody interested, ask me more questions about that, but I think that's where things stand in terms of that. I'll wait for questions. You know the drill. Drop the questions in the chat. If you're desperate about saying a couple of words, raise your hand, unmute yourself, and speak up. We have a small, intimate group today, so maybe it'll grow a bit more. We'll see. Okay, so Jennifer has a question. If one had a COVID recently, how long should one assume one can be relaxed about masking? Okay, interesting question. So you're basically saying, okay, if I just had a COVID, what do I care if somebody else next to me has a COVID? I don't need a mask, I won't get infected. You know, it's not really clear actually, because you've seen my, actually I'm gonna post this. You've seen my YouTube video about the best data, which I think is still the best, from Lancet, basically showing natural immunity is going to be good for about 10 months. I have not seen anything better than that. But that good 10 months, it's actually not so great, because, you know, you start at about 90, say 85% protection, and then it drops pretty quickly to about 40 to 50 from getting any symptoms. But you know, you're still going to get very mild symptoms, so mask or no mask. I think all of you have seen the masks are basically almost non-existent. The only places where masking is still sort of prevalent is some kind of healthcare settings, although everywhere else, you know, I kind of, basically the way my logic goes, if you're at risk, definitely wear a mask when you're in an enclosed environment with someone that you either don't know, multiple people, or you know someone has COVID. So like inside a house, inside a plane, inside the bus, places where you basically can't be in the environment that the virus gets diluted immediately into the air and dramatically lowering the risk. But that's a good question. Let me find a link to the YouTube video about this, which actually is, I think it's my most watched YouTube video, and you should see some comments there. I have no responsibility for people's comments on YouTube. Okay, I happen to say that it looks like natural immunity appears to be better at certain aspects versus vaccine. And guess what? Of course, the anti-vaxxer movement somehow got hold of that video, and people were just commenting, kill the vaccines and all that stupid crap. So, all right, any other questions? I will ask folks a question. Who is planning on getting the new vaccine as soon as it comes up? Just curious if people want to raise hands. Okay, so a couple of people immediately want to. Okay, all right, well, that's good. I mean, I think the big question is that Pfizer is waiting to get approval for the new booster. The key question is that booster going to be any better than what they have? I don't, the problem is I'm going to wait and I'll be carefully looking at what they're going to say to the public and also sort of what are we going to observe. The reality is I don't actually expect that the booster is going to be any better than what's already out there. Because there's really no new sudden variants. They can't really produce the vaccine forward, right? We talked about that. If the variant's going to keep changing, there's nothing we can do. There's no forward game here. The game is always backwards. So you have to wait for something to show up and then try to catch up. And the problem is that catching up is always months. It's not a few days or weeks, right? So for now, that seems to be okay because the Eris EG.5 is basically going to most likely be okay. It's more virulent, by the way. So it seems like the virus is going towards more virulent, but not more severity, which is very good news for us. What this means is we're all going to get sick on a repeated basis. What's not clear, and what's actually we should all be sort of concerned about is whether or not that means that the long COVID concerns are going to be continuously in front of all of us. And that is really the only thing that worries me. I'm not worried about kind of going back to the types of numbers we've seen. I'm not worried about mortality. I'm just worried about the kind of prevalence of long COVID that's going to be on the horizon potentially. So, all right, here's the link to that video.
Misha, do you see Rick Osgood has his hand raised?
I think Rick raised the hand when I asked if you're going to get vaccinated.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right, Rick?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Anyway, I put the link to the Lancet study out there showing that natural immunity actually is better in certain ways. Okay, let me speak about something real brief before I hand it over to Yene. And so when I was on a vacation, we went kayaking, and I had this one, realization that was kind of sad realization. The river this year was amazing. It was more water than usual. The trip was great and everything was fine. But I was like, at some point during the pedaling, I was like realizing, wait a second, I'm having all this great time, but in the years to come, in generations to come, a lot of our kids are not going to be able to do any of this. It's the water is going to recede, the climate change is going to continue, everything's going to change. And I start realizing, I do so much environmental medicine in the practice right now, it's going to get a lot worse. And so I made this little video, it's very short, feel free to watch it, basically saying, well, I think it's time for us to all talk about climate change and how it's going to affect all of our health. So I don't know exactly what that's going to mean for me in terms of being more publicly speaking about it, but I'm starting to realize that we all have to start grappling with this point very soon, just due to the fact that we're already seeing major shifts around us and it's going to get rapidly worse. So. All right, that's an interesting, I'm going to answer this question even though it was posted to me about NAC and acetylcysteine. No, it is still a supplement. You can easily obtain it pretty much anywhere. It's in every dispensaries and in supplement form in every shop. What's changing is there was an illegal attempt at making NAC drug. There's absolutely no way of doing it. It's a naturally occurring substance. The reason FDA tried to do something was really interesting. The company that wanted to kill this whole process and say that N-acetylcysteine or NAC is a drug, of course, they wanted a patent. The problem is very simple. FDA has no way of doing it. And NAC present in our own body everywhere. It's one of the modified amino acids that our body can make. So there's no real easy way for the feds to do anything about it. Don't worry about it. Nothing will happen. This attempt has been overpassed, I think, 20 plus years, and they just go back and forth. So no, FDA has absolutely no authority over over the substances that our body produces. There's certain implication in oh yeah, NAC is in our bodies. It's a cysteine. So cysteine, NAC is simply an add-on to the molecule of cysteine, which our bodies can manufacture from cysteine and some other steps. So they have it's made in the minute amounts, but it's made. And that's actually the reason why the feds can't do anything about it. And that's been, I've been following this topic extremely closely, just not necessarily because I'm worried about anything, but because it's interesting. So anything new to help with long COVID fatigue? New? No, don't have anything new. But there's a lot of things that can be done for that. I think it's a long answer. I will give you just one thing to consider. I'll put that in the chat. And that is NAD in form of either liposomal NMN or oral NR. So that's kind of one thing that we have been trying lately for a lot of our long COVID patients. Some patients report a really rapid improvement. If somebody is interested in a particular product, let me know. I don't want to put specific products in the comments. It doesn't feel right to me. All right, well, I'm at 2:15 with the questions. Thank you, everybody. I'm so excited to pass it on to Yene. This is our newest find. This is absolutely amazing. Our good friend introduced us and we hit it off. So we're now sending patients back and forth between the practices, and I want to hear everything she has to say. It's very relevant to my health as well. This is thinning. So Yene, take us away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Misha. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I was like thinking about this and I was like, oh, I get to talk about hair loss with people, and some hair loss, just a little bit of background on me, is something that I am extremely aware and conscious about. My mother has frontal fibrosis and has been losing her hair, and growing up had a head full of hair, and I never understood. And I've been doing hair for probably about 20 years now, from when I went to hair school, but was doing hair prior to that and always was obsessed with hair. So when my mom's hair started changing and like I couldn't figure out what it was, I kept digging and doing research, and then found myself going down the hair loss and hair loss practitioner path. And so continuing my studies, continuing to understand, and with the clients that we service here at Aesthetics Salon, not even just hair loss clients, but just clients in general, and just seeing more and more people, I think, especially in the last 2 years, experience hair loss or scalp concerns or scalp disorders or diseases, which then lead to hair loss. I've just really tried to be an advocate to really share with everybody that hair loss exists. And it comes in different forms, and how to do preventative work when it comes to hair loss. So I prefer this to be a more interactive conversation. So if you guys have questions at any point, feel free to drop them in the chats or unmute yourself and ask the question, and I'm happy to answer it. I was asked particularly to talk about hair loss as it pertains to menopause. But I think that that's just so segmented that I'm going to talk about that and just general hair loss and kind of debunking some of hair loss myths, and then hair care do's and don'ts when it pertains to scalp concerns, scalp disorders, scalp diseases, which can lead to hair loss. So the first thing that I always like to tell people is that everyone always is like, oh, I have hair loss because it's hereditary. My mother's lost her hair, my father lost their hair, so I have hair loss. And so the main thing that I always like to tell people to start off is that for men, male pattern baldness is prevalent when you have, it could come about if either your mother or your father have hair loss on their hair loss genes on either side of your family. With men, with women, which you're seeing a lot more women that are experiencing hair loss, you need both hair loss components on your mother and your father's side. So in the textured hair space, which is where I live and work, there's a lot of clients who are coming in and they're like, oh, I have hair loss and it's because of hairstyles that I did. Yes, there are a lot of hairstyles that cause hair loss, but it's also diet. It's also a reflection of what's going on internally. So anytime a client comes into our establishment, the first thing that I ask them during their consultation, or not the first, one of the things that we ask them during their consultation is about their diets, their lifestyle, and their habits. I believe that there's environmental habits, environmental factors that contribute to hair loss, as well as self-inflicted hair loss with the way that we style our hair. So how often are we brushing our hair? How tight are we pulling our hair? Whether it's in ponytails, whether it's putting a baseball cap on and going to the gym and sweating. So I tell people we have to remember that our hair is made up of fiber. And so there's 3 stages generally that come into play when we think about our hair and the cycle of hair. There's the anagen stage, which is the growth phase. There's the catagen stage, which is the transition phase. And then there's the telogen stage, which is the rest stage. Generally during the rest stage is where you're going to see hair coming out. On average, it is natural and normal for you to lose anywhere from 60 to 100 strands of hair a day. If you are not brushing or combing your hair daily, you're going to see that build up over time. So for people who are wearing braids, or people who are putting their hair in ponytails, or people who are wearing their hair curly or wavy in its natural state and are only detangling their hair every 3-4 days, you're going to see that come out at once. Particularly also for men, there are a lot of men who aren't really doing much with their hair. They're not really combing or brushing their hair. Their styling involves finger styling. So you get out of the shower, you grab your gel, you grab your wax, you put it in, you put it on your palms, you emulsify it, you put it in your hair, and you put it in your hair and you keep it going with the rest of your day. Perfectly fine, but just know that your hair is still shedding. And so if it's not, when you finally do comb, brush, anything of that nature, you are going to see shedding of hair, and it's normal. Now, if it's coming out in clumps, if it's coming out in chunks, we should be concerned. There are a lot of medical factors that also play a part when it comes to hair loss. So if you have high blood pressure, if you have thyroid, if you have an autoimmune disorder or disease, a lot of people don't take into account medications that play a role into hair loss. And if you read the side effects of a lot of these medications, hair loss is a part of it. I'm not saying don't find a way to get off the medication because it's necessary and vital to your health, but also just being aware and respectfully challenging your doctor to ensure that if you are on, for example, blood pressure medication, how long are you on that dosage? Are there other things that you could do, other ways to reduce your stress levels, whether it's diuretic or practices of mindfulness or practices of meditation and things into your daily routine, which will help you kind of wean off the medication or lower the amount of medication. A lot of the clients that I see, my mother, for example, her hair loss started when she got on blood pressure medication. She's kind of been on the same dosage of blood pressure medication probably for the past 15 years. And I'm always pushing back on her to say, you really need to talk with your doctor about figuring out other ways for you to reduce your stress levels and figuring out other ways for us to change blood pressure medications for you and to figure out if you actually need this dosage. There are some people that can't, and I understand that. So we make other adjustments into our life. And that's where, as I said earlier, meditation, mindfulness practices, and just stress reduction practices come into play. But just knowing that what ends up happening is, especially for women, once you start losing your hair, in addition to already being stressed, your stress levels are even more increased because vanity, I believe, maybe just because I'm in the beauty industry, I think we are all vain individuals and we all care about our appearance and we all care about how we present to the world. And so our hair is a big part of our identity for both men and women and our confidence. So if we aren't figuring out how to control it or how to keep it on our head, it becomes another stressor for us. There are a lot of people that also see stress-induced alopecia areata, which are these small circle spots that you get in your hair, and they generally grow back. What I tell people is that that generally is something that happened within the last 3 to 6 months. It's not like I'm stressed today, my hair will fall out tomorrow. Unless your stress levels are extremely, extremely high, then sometimes you do see that, or there's, again, a medical condition that we're unaware of. But it's important for us to think about that. As we were talking about COVID a moment ago, that's another thing. Again, that's an acute shock to our system instantly that is causing us to experience hair loss. There's a lot of people that have experienced hair loss post-COVID, and it's essentially diffused hair loss. It will grow back. In addition to thinking about hair loss, we also have to think about scalp care, which can lead to hair loss. A lot of people have seborrheic dermatitis, dry and itchy scalp, and they're like, oh, I just have dandruff. There's a difference between dandruff and seborrheic dermatitis. And generally with a lot of the clients that I see in this area with seborrheic dermatitis, they're having flare-ups when they're highly stressed or when their dietary practices aren't exactly where they should be. So the high intake in dairy can cause a yellowish film on your scalp. If you're washing your hair and everything isn't being removed, or you're starting to see a lot of oil on your scalp or sebum on your scalp, that is generally telling us that something internally is off. Again, thyroid is another part. Thyroid imbalances also cause hair loss and could affect the way that your hair appears, the thinness and the thickness of it. And then, of course, diet. So a lot of things that I always tell people to incorporate into their diet is omega-3, vitamin D, fish oil. I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, biotin is great for your hair, I'm just going to take biotin. Nutrafol is a vitamin that I do recommend, that I do like. It is a dermatologist recommended. I don't want to say that it's dermatologist approved because I'm not 100% or tested. I'm not 100% on that statement, but it's definitely dermatologist recommended. I know a lot of dermatologists that recommend it, and a lot of the dermatologists that I work with that deal with hair loss that recommend it. But just know that it's treating an imbalance or a deficiency in your body, and that's why you're seeing it. And so going off of blogs or going off of trends of something that works for one person doesn't mean that it's going to work with you, because everybody is very unique. Our DNA is very unique. Excuse me. Sorry. And it's important for us to recognize and understand that what is working for me may not work for the next person. So it's important to always consult with a medical professional. One of the things that I always say to individuals that come into the salon and are experiencing hair loss is that it's extremely important for you to connect with your dermatologist or your primary care physician to figure out if there's anything going on. Are your iron levels low? Are your ferritin levels low? Those are the immediate things that people think about in the very beginning, like, okay, these are the triggers that are going to cause hair loss. And making sure that they are checking, doing a complete CBC panel. And then if everything still comes out normal and you're still experiencing hair loss, then that's where I would then recommend you to go see someone at GW Integrative Medicine for them to do a more intense panel and figure out what you can do, and to work with a nutritionist to figure out from a dietary perspective what you can do to change what's going on and figure out what's going to work for your body. Particularly, I want to dive in a little bit before we open up the floor for questions as it pertains to menopause and hair loss. There's been a lot of talk about menopause and hair loss and what causes hair loss when you're going through menopause. And it's a number of things. One of the things that we have to remember as for the females in the audience and that are watching this as they go through menopause is that particularly testosterone, it's testosterone and hormone and estrogen levels is what we're trying to figure out the balance of those as we think about hair loss. And so testosterone is responsible for the sebum production, which are the oils that nourish your hair. So naturally, oils are produced from your body and it moisturizes your hair. So I'm not a big fan of putting excessive oil, additional oil into your hair, because I always remind people that our scalp is an extension of our face and its skin and cells on top of our scalp, and they have to be breathable. So if you're clogging it with oils, you are stunting the natural elements of the world getting it, oxygen, and it's going to actually cause an adverse reaction more than a positive reaction. So when you see products like serums or oils, that is for your hair and not for your scalp. Some general things to think about when you're thinking about cleanliness of your hair. Shampoo is for your hair and scalp, and conditioner is strictly for your hair. If you are putting conditioner at the root on your scalp, it is detrimental to your hair. So you always want to put it off of your scalp and kind of let it go from root to, like from mid shaft to end, particularly for women. For men, I recommend, I'm an advocate of like 2-in-1 services. So like products that have shampoo and conditioner built in one, those are great because they're not extremely drying to your hair. So when the levels of estrogen and progesterone drop, hair grows more slowly. And that's generally what's going on during menopause. And it also causes your hair to be thinner because the decrease in these hormones trigger the increase in the productions of androgen, which is a group of male hormones, and they shrink the hair follicle, resulting in thinning and in hair loss. So as we think about menopause and hair loss, that's the layman's term, basic way to understand what's going on. Some doctors believe in hormone replacements during menopause. I am not a medical professional, so I don't really have an opinion on that. I have found for some people when they are doing hormone replacement, it does help with hair loss, and for other people's it doesn't. But I also know that there's other factors. So I ask people about their diet. So I haven't been able, at least with my clients, to see consistency with everyone's circumstances being the same. But just know that nutrients and nutrition plays a big part. Vitamin D and iron are very essential to the shine and growth of your hair. And so you want to make sure that you are having a well-versed and well-balanced diet. Doesn't matter what kind of shampoo you use. Linda, it depends on what's going on. Shampoo does matter depending on if your hair is color treated. Should I use hair gel? Hair gel, let me answer the first one. Shampoos and conditioners matter depending on what's going on with your hair. Is your hair color treated? Is your hair already thinning? So there's multiple different types of shampoos. There's moisturizing shampoos, there's clarifying shampoos, there's normal shampoos, and there's pH levels. Every shampoo has a pH level. So you want to make sure that you're finding something. I'm not saying this just because I'm a hairstylist. I always say that I think even if you maintain your hair at home, at least twice a year, you should go into the salon and talk with a hairstylist for them to kind of give you an assessment of your hair and recommend products to you. You don't have to go back to them. You don't have to see them every 2 weeks, every month, whatever it is. But shampoos do matter because if you are using something like a clarifying shampoo or something that's really stripping to your hair and your hair is already dry or your scalp is already dry, it's going to exacerbate it, which is going to make it worse. And especially if you're washing your hair too often. When it comes to gels, my main thing with gels is making sure that you're paying attention to the alcohol content. And if you're going to be putting gels in your hair, how often are you going to be washing it out? Something to think about when people go to the gym, for example, you generally sweat, and in sweat lives salt, and salt is drying to the hair. So you want to make sure that you're rinsing that out, and you don't want to use a clarifying shampoo after an extensive workout because the salt is already drying in your hair that lives in sweat. So it's exacerbating it even more. So that's where you're going to want to use like a normal shampoo or a moisturizing shampoo. Some of my over-the-counter shampoos that I personally love, Tresemme has a shampoo that is like one of my go-to favorites. It is their moisturizing shampoo. It comes in a white and black bottle and it has like a green label and green writing on it. I don't know. They're always repackaging, but it's just their moisture shampoo. And then Joico Moisture Recovery. You could find it at Ulta. You could find it online. It's one of my favorite shampoos for all textures of hair because you could build it up. So if you want, specifically for conditioner, if you want a little bit more moisture, you could pack it on a little bit more. Add a little bit of oil into it, maybe some olive oil into your conditioner, put a plastic cap on, sit with it for 5 to 10 minutes and then rinse. So that's my personal over-the-counter recommendations where you could get anywhere. There are specialty shampoos if your hair is color treated and things of that nature, then it's a different conversation. I hope that answered your question. You go back into the chat. Environmental working group website list products that are deemed free. So that are deemed free of harmful chemicals. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Is it Cecil? Are you asking me, or are you for environmental working groups website list products that are deemed free of harmful chemicals, or are you?
I think she's just saying that it's
Oh.
Yeah, there's a well-known resource. It's ew.org.
Yes. And then the other products, like I personally use on my hair, I use a product called Oway, O-W-A-Y. It comes from Italy. It's natural, it's clean. Amica is also another brand that I really like. They're Cosmos certified. It's a B Corp. They're a B Corp certified company, and you can find their hair. It's like really colorful packaging. AMIKA, and they are in Sephora, and they're in Ulta, I believe, and you can find them online. Maybe Sally's Beauty carries some of their products, but I really like their products. It's one of the fewer hair care lines that works with hairstylists, but also is B Corp certified and Cosmos certified, so it is clean beauty. And I address the issue of hair dyeing and care. So with hair dyeing, am I okay on time? Misha? And
Take a couple.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah, you're fine. Take a couple.
Okay. Excuse me, I have really bad heartburn today. So hair dyeing and hair care. The thing that I always tell clients is that if you are going to start exploring hair color, just know that you are adding a color into your hair, and it's altering the natural makeup of your hair. You're changing molecules and you're shifting things. You're shifting molecules and bonds in your hair. And during that chemical process, you're susceptible to damage if it's not done properly. And it's important, again, I'm not saying this because I'm a hairstylist and I'm trying to lure clients in. There is a reason why cosmetologists have to be licensed, and it's a licensely regulated industry when it comes to chemicals. That's really the main thing for me when it comes to coloring your hair. It's just putting things on. On every box, it says to do a patch test, and I have seen more and more clients have allergic reactions to color than they did ever before. I definitely feel like ingredients have changed in color lines. I think that our bodies are just more sensitive to things, and it's important for us to make sure that we are making choices that are going to help us and not hurt us. And so if you are going to make the decision to color your hair, you have to consult with a professional, or if you're going to do over-the-counter box hair color, really read the manufacturer's instructions and follow them, and don't try to mix things, because it's like you're mixing chemicals, and that in itself is like just, to me, it's just crazy when people start taking things and it's like, oh, I'm going to use this instead of this. And I'm like, no, these chemicals are supposed to work together. They're integrated. The molecules have to close. The bonds have to close. There's disulfide bonds that are being broken. And it's extremely important. So when it comes to color, it's extremely important that you are doing the proper hair care for afterwards. So using bonding treatments, bond replacement treatments. I know that there's a lot of people that were very big on Olaplex, and then there's a lot of people that are saying Olaplex is bad for the hair. I personally do not believe Olaplex is bad for your hair. I think that what was happening is Olaplex was being used incorrectly, and it was being overused, which was causing damage to the hair. Too much of anything is bad for your hair. So too much protein, too much bond maintenance is going to cause your hair to snap. And that's what I think was happening with a lot of clients when it came to Olaplex. So I'm still a fan of Olaplex. Another product that I really do like, if your hair is color treated, is K18. It's a molecule replacement. It's made by scientists. That's really great. A little bit goes a long way. Their products come in very small sizes. One pump, one drop for your whole entire head is all you need, no matter how thick it is. So that's a great product that I like, excuse me, to use, and then I like to recommend. And then let's see. So just making sure that if you are color treating your hair, that you are caring for it. You go get a $300 color service or $150 color service and then use a $2, a $5 to $10 shampoo or conditioner and think it's going to work on your hair. Yes, Salome, I will add my address in the chat. I'll add our website. What's good quality fragrance-free shampoo and conditioners for loose curl African-American hair? Fragrance-free. I like Melanin Hair Care. And I will go back to, I use Joico. We use Joico in the salon. We use Joico Moisture Recovery in the salon. Like I said, it is a great shampoo for all textures. I also like to believe that I have the philosophy where hair is hair and it's not race-based and it's texture-based. And I think a lot of people get into the mindset, people, specifically people of color, get into the mindset of, oh, I have textured hair. I could only shop at the textured aisle at Target or Walmart or Walgreens or in Sephora, and they don't really look for things that benefit their actual hair and address what they're experiencing. So whether it's dryness or things of that nature. So Joico is my go-to. And I think that a lot of us think our hair is way worse than it actually is, or it's a lot more challenging or difficult because society has told us that, or we've been preconditioned to think that. And I think that products in general, I always remind folks that like L'Oreal is a huge conglomerate that has all of these brands under it. So like L'Oreal owns Dark and Lovely, it owns Shea Moisture, it owns, they own Pureology, they own Matrix, they own Tresemme, they own all of these companies and they generally share a lot of the same formulas. So just to start shifting our mind to think about hair as from a more universal standpoint rather than a race-based standpoint, and look at it from a texture standpoint and just try different products out and not limit yourself to just like a specific aisle. Again, unless your hair is like color treated, then you should be looking for a shampoo or conditioner that is for color treated hair. Any other questions with anybody? No. All right. Well, I thank you guys for your afternoon. I know I went over my time just a bit. If you guys have any questions, my email is in the chat. And if I can't assist you, I could direct you with someone. I'm always looking for a solution. We have a team of 8 stylists here that could service all textures of hair and make recommendations. Myself and one other stylist here is a trichology practitioner. So we really have extensive research. When I've done extensive research and training as it pertains to hair loss and scalp care. So if you guys have any questions, reach out to us.
Thank you, Yene, so much.
Thank you.
So let's do a little practice. Nina, thank you so much for coming and leading us today into the mind-body part of the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to be here with everyone this Friday afternoon in August, which is crazy to me that it's August, but it is. So yeah, we are definitely having some stress. Stress management is crucial, stress reduction, and one of the best ways to reduce stress, evidence-based, is mindfulness. So I just want to, remind everyone, I know you already know this, but what is mindfulness? So mindfulness is the opposite of mindlessness, of being on autopilot all of the time, meaning operating, going through your day without awareness, rushing, distracted, unfocused, lost in thoughts of the past, perhaps fretting over something that's happened, or thoughts of the future, what needs to get done, worrying. There's so many things, right, to worry about with the climate change and war, etc., along with our own personal life worries. Or maybe we're just multitasking, doing too many things all at once, and this can leave us feeling anxious, stressed, revved up, uncentered. So mindfulness is an inherent quality of mind that we all naturally have. when we're present, aware, and alert to our experiences as they're happening, we tend to feel more connected and grounded and calm. But being mindful is not always just about being calm and peaceful. You can bring mindful awareness and kind acceptance to whatever is arising in your experience with non-judgmental and curious attitudes, accepting, and self-compassionate. That also helps to downregulate stress. So we'll do a few practices today to cultivate this mindful quality that we all inherently have. We'll start out with some mindful movement, just some gentle stretching, and then we'll move into a body scan, and we'll close with a gratitude practice so that we also give our mind practice in focusing on the good things that are already in our life, big or small, and focusing on positive things and positive emotions. The science shows, positive psychology shows, this is also very effective in reducing stress. So we forget to focus on things that are going well. So let's get into a mindful posture and we'll get going with these meditations. So you could be sitting or leaning back, lying down. If you're sitting upright and dignified. And you can start by feeling into the body, getting grounded and getting present. So notice your feet making contact with the floor, sensing into the feet. And now noticing your legs, your buttocks contacting the chair or the cushion. Noticing your hands, perhaps your hands are resting on your lap or whatever your hands are making contact with, just noticing that. Perhaps your back is resting against the back of the chair or another surface, so sensing into the back. Allowing your shoulders to drop down away from your ears as best you can. And as best you can, start to release any tension you're holding in the face. So relaxing, releasing in the jaw. Softening the eyes and the eyelids and the forehead. Just allowing the face to just be as it is. Feeling your breath, your breathing. And then opening your eyes if they're closed. We'll do a few short mindful movements. So breathing in, bringing the arms out to your sides and then up overhead. And as you're moving, feeling the sensations of that movement and feeling your breath. And now looking up towards the ceiling, towards your fingertips, and stretching the fingertips up towards the ceiling, feeling that stretch, and then letting go, bringing the arms down, breathing out slowly back down by your sides. Flowing through space. And when your arms have reached your sides, releasing, letting go, breathing, noticing. Do that 2 more times. Breathing in, bringing the arms slowly out to the sides, up overhead, feeling into that movement, feeling the breath. And then looking upwards and reaching up as far as you can go, furthering the stretch, and then releasing, bringing the arms back down by your sides, slowly flowing, coming back to resting, breathing and noticing, pausing here. And we'll do that movement one more time, breathing in, arms coming up and overhead. Pausing here and then stretching up through the fingertips, upper torso. Breathing out, letting the arms slowly come down by your sides. Releasing. And let's take a deep breath here, in through the nose, out through the mouth, letting go. Noticing how the body's feeling. We'll move into some shoulder rolls now. So bringing your shoulders up towards your ears and then back and down into some backward shoulder rolls. And you can make these movements tiny or big. Maybe even moving the shoulders just up and down if that's more comfortable for you. Breathing, releasing some tension in the shoulders. And then when you're ready, stopping and pausing and reversing. So bringing the shoulders up to the ears and then forward and down. To these forward shoulder movements. Breathing with it. Gently releasing any tension in the shoulders and then coming back to stillness, to a pause. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Let it go. And now we'll stretch out the neck. So gently start to bring your head down towards your right shoulder. Only going as far as is comfortable for you. You might be feeling that stretch in the left side of the neck. And now bringing the head back up to center. And then gently dropping your head down towards your left shoulder, left ear towards left shoulder. Bringing the head back up to center. And we'll do that again. So bringing the head gently down towards the right shoulder. Breathing. Head comes back up to center. And then bringing the left ear down towards the left shoulder. Feeling that stretch in the neck. Gently bringing your head up to center, and we'll do that one more time. Head down towards the right shoulder. Head comes up to center. And then dropping the head down towards your left shoulder. Bringing your head up to center. And if you like, you can bring your head into some head circles here. Maybe getting a little bit more stretch into the neck. Reversing the head circles, or maybe just simply bringing the head and chin down towards the chest. Head comes up to center, gently bringing the head back a little bit here. Breathing, and then as you're ready, bringing your head back up to neutral position. And let's take a deep breath in. Deep breath out. Let it go. And noticing now your breathing. You might want to center attention on the belly or the chest, and you can place your hands in one of these spots. That can be very helpful to help you center. And then pick one of these places wherever you feel the breath sensations most strongly, or maybe it's the nostrils or the whole body. And just focus attention. You can have your eyes closed or looking downward on the breath sensations, the movement of the breath as it comes in and as it goes out, moment to moment, breath by breath. Each breath, a new beginning. So you're not trying to control your breath, just letting it be, just noticing it, the feeling, the movement, the sensations. Just this breath coming in, just this breath going out, moment to moment. Your mind will wander off into thoughts and other distractions, and that's normal. It's a tendency of our mind to wander. And when you notice that, that's a moment of mindful awareness, just noting your mind wandered off, and then bring it back, bring attention back to the breath. Each time you notice it's wandered off. That's all. That's the essence of this practice. Now moving attention from breath to hearing sounds. So tuning into the sensation of your hearing. What am I hearing right now? Focusing on sounds coming and going moment to moment. Noticing sounds. And from sounds now, taking your focused attention once again to the body. So noticing sensations in the feet, legs, arms and the hands, shoulders, torso, the neck and the face, the whole body, feeling into your whole body, sitting here breathing moment to moment. See if you can get a sense of just allowing it to be as it is as you're breathing. And then in the last part of this meditation, perhaps bringing a sense of gratitude to this body that allows you to function and breathe and walk and do so many things that we tend to take for granted. Maybe we tend to focus on the limitations too much. So just bringing that gratitude, acceptance, and kindness to the body. Thanking the body for all that it does. Enjoying this body in whatever way feels accessible. And then bringing this meditation to a close, you can open the eyes and just gently bring awareness back into the room. Perhaps you want to stretch some more, shake it all out. So yeah, as Janet mentioned, the next 8-week MBSR program is going to run on September 17th for 8 weeks, 8 Sundays from 2 to 4:30 p.m. All of the information is on GWCIM website, and I know Janet will include the link. And so all of these practices that you've been practicing here in a mindful experience, you know, the sitting meditations, the moving meditations, loving kindness, breath, body sounds, or all of the practices we'll do in MBSR, along with take a further deep dive into stress reduction, the science behind it, themes, and a way to connect with other participants. So those are the 3 elements of MBSR that make it so effective. So yeah, I hope you'll also attend the orientation, which is on September 10th, to get a taste of it and to ask questions and learn what it's all about. So take good care, everyone. And remember, you can also stop in any moment and take a pause. Just feel into your body. Your breath brings you into the moment and gives you a little bit of a, stress reduction break. Thank you.
Nina, thank you so much. Both Janet and I posted the links to the upcoming course. There is a free orientation, just like with any other cycle. So check it out. The reminder on September 22nd, which is in just about a month, we will not have the Friday afternoon group because we have our Fungi conference online. If you're interested in medicinal mushrooms and all aspects of them, including psychedelic aspect, please sign up. We will have Andrew Weil, we will have Paul Stamets, all the big names, as well as the heads of the Johns Hopkins psychedelic program. So please join us. It's supposed to be for practitioners, but I expect that most of the talks are going to be quite easy to apprehend. I don't expect them to be overboard. The curriculum is designed with the idea that anybody can listen in and understand it. So with that, next week, thank you, Janet, for posting. Looks like it's me. All right, I'm not prepared, but I'm presenting with Kathy, so I'll have to show up and look good. You know how I feel about Kathy, so I'll have to present myself reasonable. She's always
Misha, it may be a good
progressive.
time to just give us all a general update of those vaccines that we're supposed to do in the fall.
All right, perfect. Okay, that
Yeah.
just made my life easier.
Thanks for the idea, Richard.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you, Richard. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy. I think it's cooling off slightly, so hopefully it's not going to be that hot. Do get outside in nature. You know how I feel about that. And we'll see you all next Friday. And again, thanks Yene and Nina so much for today.